Welcome to this video on Packet Tracer, the network simulation tool that allows us to teach the new national curricula in computing. The software is brought to you from the Cisco Network Academy program, where it's used to teach networking to CCNA, CCNP levels, and working with computing at schools to make it available to teachers across the UK. In this video we're going to be looking at the local area network, or LAN. We're going to look at cabling the PCs up, we're going to look at setting up the wireless network, we're going to be looking at IP addresses and DHCP, and we're going to look at how to test connectivity within our LAN. Okay, so let's have a look at the LAN of Bob's house. Now we've already built it here, so the question I suppose really is, how did we get to this state of having everything working? Well, let's get rid of it as a good starting point. What we'll do is we'll get rid of everything. We'll just leave the modem in there, and we've now got a fresh starting point. So to build our LAN, what do we need? Well, we need our Linksys router, so we'll pull that up. We wanted a PC, so we'll go for some end devices. We've got a generic PC for Bob. We've got a laptop for Bob, and Bob had a wireless tablet. So he's got those devices there straight away. You'll see immediately the wireless tablet is connected to the router because by default it hasn't got any security on there, so we'll sort that out. We can rename devices so that we make sure that we know what they are. So here in our picture we can go in, we can go to the config, it's PC0, so we're going to call this Bob's PC. The laptop we're going to call Bob's laptop. Oh, help us spell laptop right. And Bob's tablet. Okay, so that's named the devices. Our router, we suppose we should rename that as well. This is Bob's DSL router. Okay, so we've got our devices named correctly. We need some cabling in there now. So we go and look at our cables. We want to use straight through cables, and we need to connect the internet connection of his router out to our modem. There was only one connection available, so that was the one to go into. Now notice, normally, as we said, the modem is actually built into the router, and what you'd be doing is you'd be plugging in the telephone line, which is this dotted line down here. We've then got to wire up our laptop. We need a straight through cable for that. When you pull it up here, you can see it looks like a little RJ45 plug on the end. We put it on the PC, decide where to plug it in. It's obviously the Ethernet port, and we plug that into the LAN ports available. Now the laptop's not connected at the moment. Let's have a look why. Go into the physical view here. Physical view. Look at the laptop. On the side of the laptop here you can see it's got an Ethernet card in. We need to swap that one out. So we need to turn off the PC, throw the Ethernet card away, and bring in a wireless card and turn the PC back on. There we go. And hey presto, Bob's laptop's connected now. So all seems to be working fine. Let's go and have a look around, see that everything is actually working fine. If we hover over Bob's PC, you'll see that there's no IP address set at the moment. It says not set, so we need to find out why. If we go into the PC, we can go into a configuration utility called IP configuration. You can see here the IP address has been left as static, which means we'd have to type this in on the actual device. We want our device to learn it automatically through DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So we'll tick that, and it requests an IP address, and now Bob's PC has got an IP address. If we hover over it again, you can see it's got an IP address. Bob's laptop got the IP address, so it must have been for DHCP by default, and Bob's tablet's also got an IP address, so that all looks like it's working pretty good. The tablet's got ending .100, 192.168.100. The laptop got 101, and Bob's PC got 102. So you can see they've been given out sequentially. and they come from the router as part of the setup there. So that shows how we connected up. Now the wireless wasn't particularly secure because they just connected without any passwords. Let's go and set that up. So we click on the router. We've had a look at the physical tab where you can see what the router actually looks like, but if we go to the GUI tab, this gives me the interface, which is very much like a real Linksys router. In fact, it's identical to a real Linksys router and very similar to any other high street router that you would buy, Sky or Netgear or whatever. So looking at the tab, you can see here on the basic wireless settings, the SSID at the moment is set to default. So we're going to rename that Bob's House, and must remember to save the settings at the end there. We're going to go to the wireless security. We're going to enable it WPA2 personal, TKIP, and we're going to use the password Cisco 123, lowercase Cisco. And again, remember to save those settings. So when we go back to the overview, you can see now the laptop and the tablet have both lost the wireless connection. Let's see if we can reconnect. So we click on the laptop. We're in the desktop view here. We go to the wireless tab, click connect. It should go and see the available networks. It can see Bob's House here, quite a strong signal. Click connect, WPA2 personal, and we'll put in the key Cisco 123 and connect. Hit connect. Oh, did something wrong there. Try that again. Put in Cisco 123 and hit connect. And there we go. Bob's laptop connected. So what about his tablet? Tablet's similar. We go to the desktop now. Unfortunately, there isn't a wireless GUI utility on here. We've actually got to go to the config utility. Click on wireless here. We've got to type in the SSID, which was Bob's House. And it was WPA2 PSK with a password of Cisco 123, and down here it was TKIP. Okay, so those settings are all okay, and there you go, Bob's tablet's now connected. So you can see now we've put security on here and we've got the devices actually connected. Out of interest, the other thing to note is when we hover over the devices, down here in the bottom it actually shows you the physical location of where these things are. Now when we pop these on, by default it defaults to a particular location. Unfortunately, these Bob's PC has been put in Anne's closet, Bob's laptop has been put in Anne's closet in Anne's house, and Bob's tablet has been put there as well, and Bob's router has been put there, and his DSL modem is actually in Bob's closet. So unfortunately all these things are in the wrong place. What we need to do is get them in the right place for our diagram. Okay, so let's go to the physical workspace and see what we need to do about it. So here we are, we've got ourselves straight into Anne's closet, and we can see in Anne's closet here we've got the 4 devices we need to move: Bob's PC, his wireless router, his tablet and his laptop. So all we do is we click on Move Object and we click on the device Bob's PC, and we want to move that into Bob's house and into Bob's closet. So that's gone. His DSL router we want to do the same to. That's going into the home city, into Bob's house, into Bob's closet. The tablet and the laptop though, we don't want to put those in the closet, we actually want to put those in the house itself. So do the same again, home city, Bob's house, but we move it to Bob's house now rather than his closet. And similarly his laptop, we move that out to Bob's house. So let's come back out of Anne's house now, and there's Bob's house. Now you can see the wireless devices move because we've now got wireless covering here. Let's go into Bob's house and go into Bob's closet, and there's his PC and his cable modem and his router we moved. Let's go back out of the closet, back up to the house level, and we've got to find the laptop and the tablet. So I'll just minimize that a little bit, Now notice, interesting enough, they don't appear to be anywhere in the house. We look around, we don't be able to see them. When you put something in the house, it actually pops up here in the top corner. It's actually hidden by this logical tab, so you've got to be quite careful. There's a laptop, and just underneath it was, oh, and get hold of it. See if we can zoom in a bit to get hold of that. We'll get it in a minute. There we go. There's the tablet. So we've at least now got all the right devices in the right place. And got our logical topology, physical topology sorted out, and our logical topology back up and running. So that's the basics of how we kind of build the network, how we connect up the cables, and how we get the wireless working to get connectivity. Okay, so we looked at how we got the addresses through DHCP. We can now see that Bob's PC has indeed got a correct IP address, as has Bob's laptop and as Bob's tablet. So where did these addresses come from? They came from the router. The local router is what we call a DHCP server, and it gives the IP addresses to devices on the LAN side. So we click in our router, go to our GUI tab as well, and we look at our basic setup here. You can see that in the basic first page we've got the IP address of the router itself, 192.168.0.1. that's the LAN side interface. So if you want to know where that is, that's actually on this side of our router. This is our LAN facing connection. It's 192.168.0.1 with a mask 255.255.255.0. And here are our DHCP settings. We've enabled DHCP server, so it gives that IP addresses. We've told it to start with the address 100, and that's why the tablet got 100 and the laptop got 101 and the PC got 102. So that was information that we've told the router to serve out as the IP addresses. The other bit of information that's served out is the DNS servers. Now, we haven't statically set up DNS. You can see here DNSs on the router have got nothing in, but if we go back up here to the status tab and look what the router itself learned, the router itself has learned that there's a DNS server out there on the internet on this address 82.10.0.3. So the router's got 3 bits of information it's got to give out. One is a DNS server that it itself learnt. Second was its own interface, which we call the default gateway, because this is a way for the PCs to get off their LAN. And thirdly will be the IP address for the PCs. So that's 3 bits of information. If we want to see those, let's go on to Bob's laptop. Let's go and bring up the DOS prompt, which you can do on a real PC. And if we type ipconfig, we can see what we've learned. We learn the IP address that's given to us by the router and the mask that goes with that, and we learn the default gateway. This is the address of the router itself, which is away off our LAN. Now the DNS isn't in here, that's a bit more information, so we need fuller information. If we do an ipconfig/all, we can now see a bit more information. We've got something to do with MAC addresses that we'll worry about later, and here you can see it's also learned about the DNS server. So that's the process of DHCP, how we set it up on the home router, and how we get the information transferred over onto the end devices. Okay, the last bit we want to have a look at is a bit to do with connectivity. So just let's refresh our memory. Bob's PC has got an IP address 192.168.0.102, and the router itself has got an IP address on the LAN of 192.168.0.1, and Bob's laptop has got 192.168.0.100. So we've got some IP addresses here to play about with. Let's see if we can get some connectivity. What we can do is go into Bob's PC, go back to the DOS prompt, and we can try and ping 192.168.0.1. That's our default gateway, and that's good. We've got a reply back from that. And let's try and ping Bob's laptop now. Ping 192.168.0.101. and we get a reply back from Bob's laptop as well. So it looks like we've got kind of connectivity flowing around our network here. That's quite good. But what's quite neat is to actually be able to visualize that information as well. So we're running in the real-time mode, which means things work really quickly. If we move into the simulation mode, we can actually see that happening more slowly. So I'm going to go to the simulation mode. We've got to be careful here because this will see all the packets flying around our network. So we're just going to edit all the filters. We're only interested in pings which are ICMP. So that's the only ones I'm interested in at the moment. So I can see I've got ICMP down here. I'm in the simulation mode. Remembering Bob's laptop here was 101. Go back to Bob's PC and the DOS prompt. Up arrow to give me my ping, and I hit return. And I now don't get a reply because I'm in the simulation mode. So let's just park that to one side for the moment. We can now see the ping packet up here. I can click on this packet. I can look at IP addresses. I can see that it's coming from me with a source address of 102 and it's destined for 101. That's Bob's laptop coming from Bob's PC. And if I delve into the packet a bit more, I can see it's an ICMP packet, which we know is a ping. And then we can start to run this simulation by clicking this button here, capture forward, and we can see the packet goes down to the router. The router's just checking where it's going to go. That shows me it's processing, and it goes down out to Bob's laptop. Now it also went down to Bob's tablet here because of the way that this particular router is working. And you can see that Bob's tablet rejected that. It said it wasn't for it because it wouldn't have had the right MAC address or IP address. When it arrives at Bob's laptop, we can just check what it is here. When it came in, what was it? Yep, it was an ICMP, and it was coming in from 102 going to 101, and the outbound details are obviously the way around now. It's sourced from 101 going back to 102 because this is the reply. And we can forward, watch the packet go back as part of that reply as well. And our ping gets back over here. Do our capture forward. And our ping should have come back now. So if we get our screen back on, you can see here we've now got our first reply. And obviously we continue the animation. What we'll see is we'll see the rest of the packets going, because a ping will actually send the packet 4 times, and we can continue with that animation. So that allows us to check the connectivity by pinging around our network, and it allows us to visualize what's happening using the simulation mode, where we can see the packets actually traversing across the network. As you can see, Packet Tracer is a fantastic utility, allowing us to inspect and see what's going on and understand how information flows within a network. Thanks very much for watching.